Hello there and welcome. The pattern we're going to work on today is for this cute little mouse. He is in my rejected patterns pile because it's just a little too many steps. Originally he made it onto the failed attempts list because I had written it down correctly in my notebook, and then when I typed it up for myself to have a neater, easier to read version, I typed it wrong. So then every time I made it, I was like, I don't know why his nose is so round. Why is it so awkward to make the tail? And then when I went back and I looked in my notebook for this for today, I realized it was because I was doing it backward, and I'd somehow managed to mistype the very first step of the toy. So everything after that just went awkwardly wrong. Anyway, so even in his final form, how he's meant to look, I still did not include him in the next collection just because he's like one too many steps, I feel like. His little ears, and without them, he's not as cute. But here he is today for you guys. Again, there's not a written version of this, but I will take you through step by step. So if you want to make it, you can. And the things you'll need to make this little guy are going to be some yarn needles, scissors, a 4mm or G crochet hook, yarn and a color for the body, worsted weight yarn or medium number 4, depending on what your yarn store labels things as, and a color for the nose and the eyes in that same weight. So those are all the things you'll need, and if he likes a catnip for your cat, catnip can go in there, and some kind of stuffing, and that's everything. All right, let's get started. Okay, we're starting with whatever color you want the body of your mouse to be. We're going to start from his tush all the way up to his little nose. So we're going to have a little bit of a longer yarn tail because we are going to use this to make the mouse's tail at the end. So for now, we're just going to make a slip knot. So we're crossing that long end of the yarn over the short and then just pulling a loop through the back. We'll take our hook into that loop. We're just going to tighten it up so it's like a nice little working stitch there. And then we are going to chain 8. So we're wrapping our yarn over that hook, pulling through, same thing, until we have 8. So we got 4 more to go. So we have our chain of 8. And from here, we are going to make a little loop. And we're finding that very first chain. And we're going to grab one side of it there. And we are going to slip stitch to join. So we're keeping the tail out of the way. We're wrapping our yarn. And we're going to pull through there, and then we're going to pull through that loop on the hook. So we finished our very first step here. That is the beginning of his little body. We're going to chain 1 before we start the next one. And then before we go any farther, I just want to take our starting tail there and make sure that it's going to stay on the outside of our little mouse as we. For rounds 2 and 3, we're just going to do a single crochet in each chain around. So we're going in through the top, wrap our yarn, pull up, and we have 2 on there. We're going to pull through both of those. We're going to keep going until you get all 8 chains, turning them into 8 single crochets. There we go. So we're already about halfway there. When we get to the end here, we will be slip stitching the very first stitch to the last stitch on this round. Let's keeping that tail out of the way. One more here. Okay, so we're going to take that into that very first stitch, wrap, pull through there, pull through that second one. So that's our second round. For round 3, we're going to do the same thing, just a single crochet all the way around. When you get to the end, you'll slip stitch to join the 2 rounds, and we'll chain 1. I'm going to go ahead and meet you there. Okay, we've got an increase round coming up here. So for the very first stitch, it's just a plain single crochet into that first space, and then in the next stitch, we'll single crochet 2, both in that same spot. So we're going back in. We're going to keep repeating this all the way around. We got a single crochet, and then 2 in that next one. When we get to the end, we'll have gone from having just 8 stitches to having 12 in total. And here we are, there's that last one. 2 in that space. We're gonna slip stitch to join those rounds, and we'll chain 1. So now we're on to that next round. And so for rounds 5 and 6, it's just a single crochet in each stitch. At the end of each round, we will slip stitch to join the rounds and chain 1 to get us back up to height for the next one. So we're gonna go ahead and keep going this one and the next one, just single crochets each one around, and then I will meet you back for round 7. So you'll have 12 at the end of this one, 1 more, just 12, and then I'll see you for round 7. Okay, we're up to round 7, remembering that our very first round was just a chain round, so if you're counting, it's going to look like you're 1 behind, but you're right where you want to be. We are going to single crochet 2 together. So we are shaping here. So we're going to single crochet. So we're going through the front loop of the first stitch, front loop of the stitch next to it. We're going to wrap our yarn, pull through both of those. We're going to wrap and pull through the 2 on the hook. That is our first decrease there. And we're going to do single crochet for the next 3, just plain single crochets. And each of the next 3, there we go. So we've got our 3 plain single crochets. And for the next one, we're going to increase. So we're going to single crochet 2 into that same spot. So we're going back in that same stitch again. And for the next one, we are going to single crochet 2 again. Again, we're just working 2 single crochets into that one spot. We got 3 plain single crochets, 1, 2, and a third. And then we're going to single crochet 2 together for the last 2 stitches. So we're going into just the front loops. There we go, wrap, pull through there, wrap, pull through both of those. And we're going to slip stitch join and chain 1. Well, if you're looking at it from the side, you can kind of see it starts to get a little bit of a shape. That's just going to give his body a little bit more character. So we should still have 12 stitches. For round 8, this next one, we're just going to single crochet 1 in every stitch around. So at the end of that round, again, you'll still just have 12 stitches. You'll slip stitch join, we'll chain 1, and I will meet you back for round 9. Okay, round 9, we're going to decrease a little bit here. First 2 stitches are just a plain single crochet. So going 1 and 2. And then in the next 4, we're going to single crochet 2 together. So grabbing the front loops, wrap the yarn, and same thing again. Wrap the yarn, pull through those 2 front loops, wrap, pull through the 2 remaining loops on your hook. 1 more decrease stitch. And then 2 plain single crochets for these last 2 stitches. 1, 2. We'll slip stitch. We'll chain 1. And then our next round is also going to be a decrease round, just a little check-in. You can see the shape changing again just a little bit. We're going into where his little nose is going to start to come in. There's his little butt sticking up in the air. All right, next decrease round. Okay, for our next decrease, all we're going to do is single crochet one and one in the next, and then we're going to decrease. So we're grabbing the 2 front loops of the next 2 stitches, wrap, pull up, wrap, pull through 2, and then 2 plain single crochets again. So we're going in, wrap the yarn, pull it up, we got 2, wrap, pull through those 2, and again, and then one last decrease. That is going to take us down to having 6 stitches on our little toy here. Before we slip stitch, we're going to change to his little nose color. So for this, I like to double knot the new color on. Got a little pink yarn here. Doesn't have to be pink. Maybe your mouse has a red nose or a black nose or lime green. I don't care. Whatever you got laying around, it's probably fine. We're going to tie that on, pulling it down to where we'd want the working yarn to start. And again, I'm going to double knot. As I'm double knotting, just trying to keep the knots facing toward the inside of the toy so I can tuck them in and have them out of the way. If you got your scissors handy, you can officially go ahead and snip that gray yarn away. So now we're just working with the pink yarn instead. And before we tuck those in, just to kind of keep everything orderly, we'll slip stitch first in there and chain 1. So this is our last decrease. This one's going to be the toughest one to get through because we are going all the way down to just 3 stitches. So you might need something to tuck these in with, whatever you need to do here. My nails are at a place where they're almost making my hands unusable at this point, but we've got our town's last comic book day costume contest is this weekend, so I need my nails to be nice and long so I can file them into claws this Saturday for my costume. I can't seem to keep fake nails on, so I just grow mine out and have useless hands for a few weeks at a time when I need them. They'll be back to a more functional point next week. Anyway, so we've got our 6 stitches across the top there. You can see it's pretty narrow already, and we are going to decrease all the way down to just 3 stitches. We're going to have to be as careful as we can not to catch anything as we go because everything's nice and close here. So we're going in the front loop of the first 2, wrap, pull up, wrap, pull through both of those, and we're going to do the same thing again. And here we go, one more time. And there we are. We've got those 3. Finding that very first one, this might be the trickiest part. Trying to get through there without catching anything else. I find angling up helps quite a bit. Wrap and pull through there. So that's his nose. We're going to leave a little bit of a longer tail because we're going to use this yarn to also do the eyes, unless you're like super opposed to having the nose and the eyes be the same color. If it weirds you out to think about little pink mice eyes or what have you, feel free to cut it off, tuck that tail in, and tie a different color on. But for the sake of not having to do that, we're going to leave a little bit of a longer tail, cut that off. We'll wrap this here and pull that through to tie it off, and we'll get our yarn needle ready to do those little eyeballs. All right, we've got that tail threaded through our yarn needle. I don't generally tie the back off. I just sort of make it a little bit long so I don't lose it, or I'm less likely to lose it. If I put a knot in there, then it's just harder to pull through. But if you need one and it works for you, go ahead and do it. So working my way through a couple of the stitches at the very top. There's only 3 left, so you can kind of just do 1 and 2. and pull that closed with a little knot that's just going to keep the nose hole tied off. Little mouse nostrils are now sealed tight. Okay. Taking that through some point where it won't make a big bulky mess there. And we're using our, where we slip stitched, that little, almost like a little vertebrae there, to let us know as a guide for where the bottom and top of the toy is. So now I have it facing me so I can see right kind of where that crest is of his head is where I want to put his little eyes. So I'm going to go through with that tail and then do the same thing, just shooting it over to the other side. They're nothing fancy, just little slits here. And for this last one, I'm going to tie off the end, keeping the knot near kind of the side there. And then just to keep that knot on the inside, pulling that tail through the toy. So it's coming all the way out the back. That back end is still open. So it just has little pink eyeballs there. Nothing crazy, just two little embroidered stitch eyeballs. So now that tail can stay back there. You can trim it a little shorter if you feel like you need to keep it out of your way, or you can just tuck the whole thing in, or some combination of both of those things. I think I am just going to make that a little bit shorter and tuck it in there. Okay, so now we're going to take some stuffing and some catnip. It's not much of an opening, but it's enough. You should be able to get some stuff in there. And if you need it, you can always use one of those tools that look like a pencil with no lead in them that come with the stuffing, or an actual pencil if you don't have one of those. So just cramming everything in there until the body is as full of stuffing as you would like, and then we'll work on the tail and then the ears. He's almost ready. Okay, our stuffing is in. I put the catnip in first and then the stuffing. I've threaded my tail onto my yarn needle, and now I'm going to go in and back out through every other stitch. So going in and then back out through the next chain all the way around. Oh, I missed one. And one more time. So we have all 8 of the chain that we started with woven through, and then as we pull, that's just going to close the back of the little mouse. Oh, from here, we've got them all tied off. We're going to grab anywhere sort of that's sticking out at the right angle, the correct angle, not a actual right angle. And we're going to pull until we have a little loop. We're taking the yarn needle away. We're going to put it off to the side, and we're getting our 4mm hook ready again. So we're pulling that down. Now with our hook, we're going to chain roughly about 10 or whatever length tail you want for your little mouse. 3, 4, 5, 6. We're going to keep going. Maybe 9's enough. All right. And we'll wrap that yarn one more time to pull through to tie it off. And then leaving that knot there. And just a teeny little bit of the tail after so that knot doesn't come undone. Okay, we finished up the tail. We are ready to do ears. We're going to take our hook and we're going to insert it just behind the eyes between those 2 rows. So you got that row there, and going into the space kind of right in between, just behind the eye. And we're going to tie on some gray yarn. So we're going to grab our gray yarn and bring it on over. Okay, we've got the gray yarn. We're going to wrap it around our hook just to pull it back through that space. All right, keep that hook in there. We are going to tie that tail to the long working end. Maybe twice. Just keep that in there. We'll tuck that in later. You won't even see that knot. So we're going to chain 1. And then into that same spot, we're going in, we're gonna wrap our yarn, pull it up, pull through, and that's it. That's gonna be our little ear. And it doesn't look like much now, but when we tuck both ends in, it'll be a cute little mouse ear. So we will snip somewhere long enough that we can pull that tail through still. And we're going to wrap our yarn around our hook one more time just to tie off the top of that stitch. Okay. So you can see that little flap there. When we tuck these two into the toy, it'll round it off. It'll give it just the right size ear for his little itty bitty body. We're gonna do the same thing on the other side. So you're going through, right behind the eye, through that stitch. We'll tie that yarn on, and you'll just repeat that same process, and I'll meet you back here to do the tucking in of the ends. Okay, we got both ears. We've got these 4 little ends to contend with here. I've gone ahead and threaded just a random first one on. So kind of picking it up to see where it originally came from. We're gonna push the yarn needle through there and all the way out the other side, and we'll take that long end, give it a little bit of a tug just to keep the tension on there, so when we snip that off, it just disappears back into the body and we don't have to worry about weaving anything anywhere. All right, we're gonna do the same thing on the other side of the ear. You can already kind of tell that it's like a little bit more curvy now, a little bit more ear-like. And we'll go ahead and lace that through. So the ears here, I think, are one of the things that took this toy from being maybe part of the next little pattern collection to being one of the rejected ones. It is, I feel like, just one step too many for something so small. It's cute though, and without the ears, honestly, I feel like he's got a little bit of a tampon-esque quality without them, so he really needs them. So if I leave him off, then that's all I can think about when I look at him. If I put him on there, then I'm like, oh, he's a cute little mouse. So, you know, he's not terrible to make, but it's just a little bit too much for a little toy, I think. Cute. But not everything has to be a final product, right? Sometimes things are just fun and cute, and that's okay. Okay, we're gonna keep going. And same thing, we're just trying to find where the ear originated from. So put that back through there. I think I pulled that one too far, but it's fine. Like I said, just cute little ears. Little bump sticking up there. He's looking at you. Hello, do you have any cheese? And we'll go ahead and snip that off. Okay, so he is done. We've got our little mouse. I hope you like him. I hope your kitties like him. I've got one of my boys is very, very into anything mouse shaped. He doesn't care if it looks like a tampon. He just wants to play with it. He thinks he is a great hunter. And you know what? He is. He's the best at finding little mouse toys around the house. Thank you so much for joining me. I hope you enjoy this. I hope your cats enjoy any little mice you may have made for them. And that's it. Thank you. Bye.